usually don't get a lot of pushback from people, but when I do, it's from enthusiasts and educators that put basically all of their focus on what can be proven by science when it comes to the care of chickens. And I am someone who uses herbs. I use homeopathics. I use other natural methods to take care of my flock, and I incorporate that into what I teach. And I want to make it really clear that I completely understand that, and I am not anti-science. I promise you, the world needs science, but it's not the only thing that I draw information from. And I just want you to hang on and listen to what I have to say about that. Here's our local Einstein. You have hair kind of like Einstein, don't you, Bubblicious? You're so cute. All right, I'll put you down. Hey guys, welcome to Chickenlandia. I am a backyard chicken educator here in the Pacific Northwest, but you can call me the president of Chickenlandia. I talk a lot about the peace I feel when I'm among my chickens in my chicken yard. And I attribute this feeling, not just because when I'm out here with my chickens, I'm really connecting with nature, but also because, chickens are humankind's most amazing common denominator. And I feel that when I'm out here. I feel that connectedness with other human beings. And I just think that is so important, and it makes me feel at peace. I say that this is part of our common ancestry because, human beings have been keeping chickens for thousands of years. We all have chickens in our history. And, I just think that that's so important to know about and to understand when you're out here taking care of your chickens. So, what does this have to do with science? Well, modern poultry science has obviously not been with us for thousands of years. It is actually fairly new. It's just like a moment of time when you look at how long human beings have had domestic chickens. Now, that doesn't mean that, hey, don't fight. We don't do that. Don't fight. Bubblicious is defending my honor. I don't want you to do that. You don't have to do that. This is, we're pacifists, okay, in Chickenlandia. Or at least I am. I know Philippe isn't. Good. No fight. Now, that doesn't mean that the things that poultry science has been studying are not important. They are very important. And I think that, myself as a backyard chicken educator, it's really important for me to be aware of those studies and to stay on top of those studies because, it's important for me to be educated so that I can bring the best information to you. All that being said, here is my issue with poultry science. A lot of it, not all of it, especially not lately, but a lot of poultry science comes to us through the lens of factory farms. So in the 1900s, that's when factory farms hit the scene. It was like in the 1920s. And chickens were the first animals to be kept in factory farms. And, of course, I find that very unfortunate. But what has happened is that there has been a lot of interest to conduct studies where we can figure out how to keep chickens alive and how to maximize profit within these systems where, it's just not conducive to life, basically. They're very, very inhumane systems. Now, when I compare those conditions to the conditions that chickens experience in a backyard flock, obviously it is completely different. So I don't think that I'm wrong when I have questions about the relevance of studies that were conducted in factory farms to backyard chickens. I don't think that I should be labeled as like anti-science or, just like I don't know what I'm talking about when I have those questions, because I think those are totally valid questions and totally valid concerns. Unfortunately, it takes a lot of money to do studies, and there is a lot of money in factory farming, and there's not a lot of money in natural remedies. That is changing. Some of that is changing, and there's been some great studies that are coming out, and there's more interest in it. But in general, the studies are going to be done wherever the money is. And I think, since that's the case, it is reasonable to consider the conflict of interest there. And I always say that lack of studies, lack of scientific proof is not proof that these things don't work. It just means that there's not studies. That's just something that I take into consideration, and I feel like it's unfair, that we don't have the information we should have in order to keep chickens more sustainably and more naturally in our backyards. And here's the other thing that really bothers me. Especially lately, we've talked a lot about ancestral wisdom, indigenous wisdom, and there's this effort to really validate that and to understand that. But then I also see people in the same breath saying that, nothing is true unless science can prove it. And I think that's really wrong-headed. I think there is information that cannot be proved by science that has value. It's not the whole equation, but it really should be part of it. But to me, that wisdom, that old wives' wisdom, that ancestral wisdom, it means something, and it's important. Another thing that our ancestors understood was that chickens could be kept sustainably. We could have this symbiotic relationship with chickens. They kept chickens in a natural way. They didn't put chemicals into their bodies. They didn't do preemptive deworming with chemicals and stuff like that. But also they figured out a way to keep backyard chickens and make it inclusive for everybody. So you didn't have to have money to buy things in order to keep chickens. Let's say, there's a study where your chickens will be much healthier if they only eat their chicken feed. They don't eat scraps or anything like that. Never mind that study is probably done in a factory farm. But what that does is it creates a situation where people have to buy more chicken feed. And if we look at it where it's okay, well, we can feed mostly chicken feed, but then we can also supplement with some of the food that we've eaten that's left over, as long as it's nice and healthy, which is the way we should be eating. And that will lower the cost, and that will make things more inclusive. But if we were to look at things only through these studies that say, well, you can only feed your chickens chicken feed, then that excludes people. And I don't think that's the direction we need to be going in. It doesn't mean that study is not valuable. We can take something from that, but we can also take something from what we know from our history. The compromised nature of some poultry science is not the only reason why I don't solely use science when it comes to how I care for my chickens and how I teach about backyard chicken keeping. For me, this isn't just a physical practice that I'm doing to get to a certain outcome. I'm not just doing this to get fresh eggs. Of course, that's a big part of it. I love that, and I want that for everybody. To me, chicken keeping is a practice of consciousness. I'm out here, I'm connecting with nature because I want to find that wisdom that my ancestors had. I want to connect with that. I want to get that information from wherever they were getting it, from the earth itself, wherever it was coming from. I want to connect with that so that it can become part of me and part of who I am and part of my experience here on this planet. This wisdom is something that humans have always been searching for. They've always cultivated it. Has humanity's intuition always been right? No, it has not always been right. We've made some really big mistakes. But I will tell you that for the most part, the biggest mistakes was when greed was involved. That peace that I feel out here, that connection to nature and to my ancestors that I feel, it can't be measured. You can't do a scientific study on it. But it matters. It's real. Well, if you've hung on this far, then you're probably interested in some natural ways in which you can keep chickens. And guess what? I have a whole playlist about natural chicken keeping. All you have to do is click right here. It's 100% friendly. Backyard chickens, education, and entertainment. And I know you're gonna love it. Now, Bubba and Philippe, we need to talk because you guys can't be fighting back here. It's peaceful back here.